Welcome back to Let's Have It Out, and we are having it out. I'm John Vlismas. My guest tonight is the BLF president, Andile Mngxitama. Am I saying that well?
Well,
Ish.
Yeah, okay. Until you can say it properly. You have no right to be here.
I understand that. Now, let's talk about exactly that, right to be here. Andile, it's no secret that you've been associated with the Gupta family. Now, my question to you is simply this. How are you so protective of the Gupta family when, by your own definition, they don't belong here?
No, but I mean, the association, it will be interesting for you to say a little bit more about what you mean by association.
Sure. What I'm trying to say is that the BLF obviously has a voice, you have some resources, and you're mobilizing and you're trying to find some kind of critical mass. Why wouldn't you dedicate that to supporting the rights of black people?
Well, of course
and also people who extract capital from your own country?
Yeah, of course we do. But I mean, I thought you'll be more specific about what is that this association is. I'm sure you're reading what they call the Gupta leaks.
No, I saw it on a video. No, you were on a video. The first time I ever saw you protesting about land, you were protecting the Gupta compound in a very privileged area.
Yeah, that's a specific thing.
So let's talk about the specifics. Yeah.
See, we say white people are foreigners. You arrived in 1652. You don't have a right to be here.
Okay.
You must return our land. Maybe we can decide what is your status. But then you, as white people, foreigners, land thieves, and more, you go to a Gupta household and tell them to go away. That's what you're doing there. We, as Black First, Land First, do not accept that any white person have any right to say to any person in this country to go away. That's what we were there to say to you. White people, the Guptas will stay in South Africa or leave. This country on the basis of what we as black people say, not what you say.
No, I understand that, but I'm talking about the economics of it. I'm talking about the fact that they've funneled money for like the Estina dairy, which is now developing. It's becoming there seems to be a development legally there. Now, if they've taken money out of poor farmers' hands, and that money now ends up somewhere else, surely that's counterintuitive to what you stand for, because it's wonderful that you're a very proud African. I understand that, and I'll never fully relate, but I understand it. I just want to know why you chose that family.
No, firstly, your enemies are not my enemies. But secondly, the Gupta's sin is not what you just said, the dairy. Do you know that the NPA, following this kind of thinking, following the media pressure and lies by white monopoly capital media, went and got an order to take the assets of the Guptas based on this Ernestina question. You know what court said? That those assets must be returned.
Yes, no, I saw that.
So see, I mean, again, now you're saying the Guptas take money away and so on. You are repeating a white discourse which is not supported by any evidence. If they did, surely a court should have said, keep this. In fact, bring the Guptas, let them account. This has not happened. That's not the only case, by the way. 3 other cases, the Guptas have won them. There's not a single case where the Gupta are implicated and we find a court of law that says there's sufficient evidence. The problem is not that the Guptas are corrupt. The problem is that the Guptas have interrupted white capital. And one example, look at what they did with Glencore in Eskom, the Escoms. Glencore is number 3 in the world, if you like, in terms of energy, right? It's a giant. The Guptas outmaneuvered them. They took that thing. It was not making profit. Within 6 months it was, and white capital was shocked. And I think they were a little bit also naughty when they took the Bell Pettinger from Johan Rupert. You know, Bell Pettinger had worked for Johan Rupert for 18 years when the Guptas snatched it from them.
Sure. Look, I mean, the Bell Pottinger is an interesting one because there is a theory that your entire organization is kind of part of that campaign. It was an interesting idea that you were funded by the white monopoly capital, the actual imperialists in the UK. It's an interesting concept.
But you see, again, you see we're being funded by. I mean,
we've got a caller. Let's talk to Anonymous. Hello, can we, Anonymous, I believe you're on the line.
Yes, sir. You've got me on the line.
Oh, good. Tell us what you'd like to say. What is your question or what is your comment?
My comment is to the leader of the BFF. The BFF leader does not seem to be respecting the law in South Africa. He has hijacked a house in Brooklyn with his girlfriend, known as Amanda. They have occupied this place. The place has an interdict that nobody should occupy it, and he is funding them to stay in the premises. And the house is actually in an estate, so it has really baffled us. Like you're saying, the Guptas win, he's also winning, even though he doesn't have the right to be there. That's my comment.
Thank you very much. Not the first time you've ignored an interdict.
Well, so let's talk about it. Let me tell you a very interesting story about this case. I know about this case. I don't know about girlfriends. But the thing is, black students and artists have taken over a house in Brooklyn. She's right.
Okay.
And I'm shocked that she sounds Indian to me, that's why she cares. This house is actually, if you look at the history of the house, it was owned by apartheid Broeder Bonders who basically died. That house has been standing there empty for 3 years.
Right.
We have no housing. It's an empty house. Our people went into it. Let me tell you something happened today in court, High Court in Pretoria.
Yes, I think I'm familiar with it.
Yes, they brought the matter to the High Court and they lost. Of course.
It wasn't urgent.
They lost. Of course, they brought it on agency. She is saying, I don't respect the law. We went to court. Today, court said, there's no agency, leave these people, and they make them pay costs for bringing a matter to court which is not urgent. And there's a lease agreement, by the way, between those who stay in that house and the guy who claims to be an executor. Again, it's unfortunate when we hear people simply saying we disrespect the law, even when we're winning cases in court on the basis of, again, rule of law. If they don't. You see, this is the problem. Our opponents accuse us of things that they do.
Yeah.
That, like in this case, she didn't care to go to court, and I know what she's going to try to do after this. Not to follow the court process, try to organize vigilantes, as they've been trying to do against people who are peaceful, simply occupy. Is it just, let me ask you,
yes.
Is it just to have an empty house for 3 years when people have no homes?
So I guess it's through which lens you look. Obviously, if the house belongs to someone and they don't want someone there, then the law of possession. There's a social angle. So I hear what you're saying.
You think it's ethical to have a house standing empty and people... I mean, this is white logic that says
I think it's
people can suffer.
No, I understand that. But I guess, is it legal to impose your morality on someone else's kind of legal rights?
Legality must be moral. Otherwise, it's unjust. And we have anyone who has a sense of justice have no duty to obey unjust laws. That's why we have revolutions. That's why we have great people on earth and historically who simply go against injustice.
So does Andile make his decision on a court ruling based on what he feels the moral obligation of Andile is?
I am driven by one thing, black first.
Right.
If it serves black people, it's just.
Okay, so therefore your support of the Guptas is unjust by that statement?
No, but you have to make a case. I'm saying to you, the Guptas are at war, by the way, with the people who are at war with. You have not provided one single piece of evidence to say to me the Guptas have done the following thing, they're being found wrong by the courts, and therefore...
damaged the fiscus? Who do you think damaged the fiscus?
You know the Guptas' total, have you checked that the Guptas' total worth? All that stuff I see is not even 20 billion rand. And the fiscus, when we talk about destruction of the fiscus, we're talking about 1.4 trillion rand going to IPPs we don't need. Now, you see, 800 billion is what we spend a year as a country in procurement.
Yes, I saw that, at the hearing.
Do you know 90% of that goes to white businesses? If you want the real corruption, we should be talking about Steinhoff, no? Marcus Jooste disappearing 20 billion rand of the state through his corruption. There's no talk. He's not in jail. He's not being followed. He's on holiday.
Okay, so give me 1 second. Here's a Facebook. I'm going to come back to that. So let's see what our viewer Keo says on Facebook. I would love to see this guy called in the state capture inquiry. I think he might unpack some things that can help the findings. Thank you for your comment, Keo. If you were called, would you go?
We have. In fact, we are Black First Land First is submitting to the commission. Number one on our list of issues is the Oppenheimer's capture of the international airport. They have an international airport within an international airport.
Yes,
they
I'm
got it
familiar with the visa.
Corrupt means completely. They went to the ANC head office. I'm talking about Nikki Oppenheimer here. No, it's not a made-up story. Nikki Oppenheimer did not go to a government office. He went to the offices of the ANC and asked them to facilitate the capture. Why wouldn't a family?
So here's a question, because we're going to have to wrap up. We're running out of time, unfortunately. If in the state capture inquiry, if the Guptas are found guilty...
Of course, they must pay.
And will you join them for having supported their crooked money grabbing?
No,
because they've damaged black lives,
no, but it's a lie that they damaged the black lives. You have not been able to provide... Guptas did not shoot people in Marikana. You know how their accounts were shut down? Because they threatened white monopoly capital went, white monopoly capital shut down their accounts. You are not talking about people died in Marikana, Lonmin, and he's still trading, nobody shut down his account.
Sure.
What is this damage that you're talking about, the Guptas?
But even Bank of Baroda shut down their accounts, and they're not a white monopoly capital
Of
bank.
course, it was under extreme pressure. You must see what Treasury was doing. That is why I think your caller is right. I must go to that before Judge Zondo to try to help them understand this. They're creating crisis, white monopoly capital, creating crisis over crisis to make sure that no one enters the economy. And as long as that is the case, black people, the Guptas, or whoever else will have no chance in this country. That is why we need black first, land first in parliament and in power to make sure that we change things and black people come first.
Okay, let's go to a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about one final topic, which will be quite fun. Send your questions and your comments, and let's see if we can get through them. See you now.